that destroyed a family. Martin and Claire lived in a quiet part of rural Pennsylvania. Their house was isolated, sitting deep in the woods, far from the main road. The closest neighbor was nearly 5 miles away. That was the life they wanted: peace, privacy, and safety for their 2 children. Their children were their pride and joy. Ethan was 10 years old, quiet, smart, and protective of his little sister. Lily was 7, playful and full of laughter. She loved her stuffed rabbit, which she carried almost everywhere. The family didn't have much, but they had each other. To friends, Martin and Claire seemed like good parents, ordinary, hardworking, doing their best to raise their kids away from the chaos of the city. On a cold October evening, Martin and Claire were invited to a small gathering in town. They almost didn't go, but after weeks of stress and work, they thought a short break might be good. The plan was simple: leave the children at home, watch some TV, and lock the doors. They would only be gone for a couple of hours. Claire kissed Lily on the forehead before leaving. "We'll be back before midnight. Be good, sweetheart." Martin gave Ethan instructions. "Lock the doors, don't open for anyone. Keep the lights on. You're in charge until we return." Ethan nodded, proud to be the man of the house for a night. He promised to take care of his sister. At around 7:30 p.m., Martin and Claire drove off into the night. Their old sedan rattled down the gravel driveway until the taillights disappeared among the dark trees. But the trip didn't go as planned. 10 minutes into the drive, the car began to sputter. Martin cursed under his breath, pulled over, and tried to restart the engine. It refused. The headlights flickered and went dark. They were stranded in the middle of nowhere. Claire pulled out her phone, but there was no signal. After several tries, Martin sighed heavily. "We'll have to walk back. It'll take us hours, but we can't leave the kids all night." And so they began the long walk back through the woods. The air was cold, their breath turning white. The silence pressed on them, broken only by the crunch of gravel under their boots. Meanwhile, Ethan and Lily were in the farmhouse, trying to pass the time. They sat on the couch watching cartoons, the glow of the TV filling the dark room. The house creaked in the wind, and the heater clicked on and off. Lily hugged her stuffed rabbit tightly. "When will they be back?" she asked. "Soon," Ethan said. He tried to sound confident, but his eyes kept moving toward the window. The woods outside looked darker than usual. Time passed slowly. At around 9 p.m., there was a knock at the door. Both children froze. The knock came again, slow and heavy. Ethan whispered. Mom and Dad said don't open for anyone. But then came a voice. A soft, familiar voice. "Ethan, Lily, it's Mommy. Open the door." Lily's eyes lit up with relief. She started to stand, but Ethan grabbed her arm. Something didn't feel right. He looked toward the window near the door, but the porch light was out. He couldn't see anyone standing there. He whispered again. "No, that's not Mom." The house went silent. And then the knocking turned into pounding. By the time Martin and Claire reached the farmhouse, it was well past midnight. They were exhausted and cold, but relieved to finally be home. From the outside, the house looked normal. The kitchen light was still on. "See," Claire said, smiling faintly. "They left the light on for us." But the moment they stepped inside, something felt wrong. The air was heavy. There was a strange smell, sharp, metallic, sour. "Ethan." "Lily," Claire called out. No answer. The living room was a mess. The cushions were ripped from the couch. Lily's stuffed rabbit lay torn on the floor, its head ripped off. Claire's heart began to pound. Martin had that smell. It was stronger now. They followed it into the kitchen. The refrigerator door was slightly open, its dim light spilling across the floor. Martin stepped forward, his hands shaking. Slowly, He pulled open the freezer compartment. Inside were two shapes, carefully wrapped in plastic. One small, one larger, both soaked with blood. At first, Martin's mind refused to understand. Meat, he thought, just meat. But then he saw a small piece of cloth sticking out of one package. A child's pajama sleeve. Claire let out a scream that tore through the house. She collapsed to the floor, sobbing and clawing at the tiles. Martin staggered backward, gagging, his hands over his mouth. He could not look, but he could not look away. The truth was unbearable. Their children, Ethan and Lily, had been butchered, their bodies cut apart and stored in their own freezer. The couple called the police, barely able to speak. When investigators arrived, they described the scene as one of the most horrifying they had ever witnessed. The children had been killed with precision. There were no signs of forced entry, no fingerprints, no DNA left behind. Whoever had done it knew what they were doing. Martin and Claire were questioned, but investigators quickly ruled them out. Their grief was too raw, too real. Still, suspicion spread through the community. Who could have committed such a brutal crime? Was it someone the family knew? Or had a stranger been watching them for weeks, waiting for the perfect chance? The case shocked the quiet town. It was cruel, calculated, unimaginable. But the most disturbing part was this: no one was ever arrested. The case remains unsolved. Martin and Claire never recovered. They left the farmhouse and never returned. The house still stands, abandoned, rotting slowly in the woods. Locals call it the freezer house. Most avoid it. When people talk about it, their voices lower, as though the story itself is cursed. They remember two innocent children who never got to see their parents come home, and they remember the parents forever carrying the weight of one night's decision to leave their children alone. The killer, whoever they were, is still out there. And that is the most terrifying part of all.